The first day back at school was always the same. Noisy hallways, buzzing excitement, and the long wait to see old friends. But this year was different. The students in Mrs. Johnson's class were buzzing not with excitement, but with whispers of a game they want to try. After school, a group of friends huddled in the dimly lit corner of the library, the only place they felt they could escape the school's summer renovation noises. They had come with a plan. Play Charlie Charlie to summon the spirit of Mrs. Johnson, the teacher who had died in a car crash over the summer. She had been infamous for her harshness, and they thought it would be a thrill if she's still rude in the afterlife. Charlotte started the game. "Charlie Charlie, are you here?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. The pencil twitched, moving towards yes. The friends gasped, glancing at each other nervously. They laughed it off to shake the eerie feeling. But then, Charlotte noticed someone standing in the corner of the library across her. She got chills upon staring at the figure wearing a veil. She immediately looked downward to prevent herself from looking at the terrifying figure. The laughter faded. "Did you see that?" Charlotte asked, her voice trembling. Before anyone could respond, a faint whisper drifted through the room, so soft it was barely audible. It was a cold, raspy voice that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. They froze, listening. The whispers grew louder, morphing into a low rumbling growl. Then suddenly, the terrifying figure seemed like moving closer to where they are. Panic surged through them. "We need to go," Charlotte said urgently. They grabbed their things and rushed out of the library, but the lady wearing the veil followed them. When they reached the school exit, they noticed the figure by the door as if looking at them, watching them. That night, as they lay in bed, the whispers returned. Each friend who are alone in their rooms, could hear faint scratching noises at their windows, as if someone or something was trying to get in. The shadows in their rooms seemed to shift and writhe, and they can hear footsteps walking beside their beds. The friends met up again the next day, looking pale and exhausted. They spoke in hushed tones about the horrifying night they all had. They are unsure if it's Mrs. Johnson or any other malevolent spirit that followed them last night. But one thing is certain, their new school year kicked off with a nightmarish start. Cassandra is a foreign exchange freshman high school student, who wants to experience different cultures and traditions of hosting countries. It was her first day at Riverside High, and she was excited to meet new people and make new friends. As she mingled and exchanged conversations, she felt the warmth and hospitality of both students and teachers. But they all gave her one reminder, which is more of a warning, not to use the bathroom on the east side of the building. Cassandra asked why, but no one gave her a reasonable explanation. She just thought that it's drainage or clogging problems. Her science class is held on the laboratory on the east side, where the infamous bathroom is located. Out of curiosity, she tried going inside, but it was securely locked. One day in the middle of science class, she can't hold her bladder anymore and asked permission to go out. She sprinted her way out of the laboratory and looked for the closest restroom. Unmindful of the warnings, she headed straight to the forbidden bathroom, hoping that it's unlocked. To her surprise, it was partially opened. She entered the small, dimly lit room. The door creaked as she pushed it open, revealing a space that had seen better days. The flickering fluorescent lights cast long shadows on the cracked tiles. As she approached the stall, Cassandra heard faint noises, like running water. She frowned, noticing that a faucet at the sink was turned on, water splashing over the edges. She turned it off puzzled, and continued to her stall. Just as she was about to close the stall door, a loud flush echoed through the bathroom. Cassandra looked around, confused. The stalls were empty and no one else was there. She took a deep breath and tried to ignore the unsettling feeling creeping up her spine. Then she heard a soft, pitiful crying, coming from somewhere behind her. Cassandra's heart raced as she noticed someone behind her in the corner of her eye. Then all of a sudden, she saw a face of pale and ghostly girl seating on top of the stall next to hers, staring at her. Cassandra screamed and jumped, her heart was pounding. She ran out of the stall and saw the girl seated on the lavatory. Panicking, she rushed to the door and bursted into the hallway, her face pale and her eyes wide with terror. She turned back to see the bathroom door closing on its own, and the lights flickered one last time before going dark. The bathroom was locked and closed off again the next day, a maintenance in progress sign hanging on the door. As she spent more days at her Riverside High, she has learned of the spirit of a girl who had never left the bathroom. Cassandra never went near that bathroom again, but sometimes when she passes by it, she could still hear the crying of the girl. The first day of senior year was supposed to be exciting, but for Tyler, it was the start of his nightmare. He and his family has just moved from another state to the mountainous town of Raven Creek. When Tyler stepped into the school building of Raven Creek High, he felt something was off. It might be jitters and apprehension from being the new guy in the new school, he thought. He noticed that the building was new, gleaming with fresh paint and polished floors, a contrast to the creepy quiet that enveloped it. His schedule indicated that room 305 was where he'd start his first class. Tyler wandered through the eerie halls, and he was having difficulty looking for room 305. After what felt like hours, he stumbled upon a classroom with an old-fashioned door and a faded number above which read 305. He hesitated, but curiosity and the pressure to not be late pushed him inside. The room was old-fashioned and dusty, with wooden desks arranged in neat rows. What struck Tyler immediately was the chill in the air and the peculiar silence. The students sitting at the desks wore outdated clothes and stared straight ahead, their faces gaunt and pale. They didn't move, didn't blink. They just stared with hollow eyes. At the front of the room stood a teacher in an antique suit, his face expressionless. He glanced up as Tyler entered, and for a moment, his eyes flickered with something cold and unsettling. "Welcome," the teacher's voice was a rasping whisper. "Please, take a seat." Tyler took a desk in the back, feeling the weight of countless unseen eyes on him. The bell rang and the teacher began to speak, but the words seemed to distort and twist, as though spoken through layers of static. Halfway through the class, Tyler's head spun with confusion. Then he noticed an old dusty book on his desk, its cover worn and old, titled History of the Raven Creek. As he flipped through it, he saw stories and articles that occurred in the town of Raven Creek, but one story caught his interest, the tragedy of Raven Creek High. A century ago, a quaint school was built amongst the Rocky Mountains of Raven Creek. Then one fateful day, a violent earthquake shook the town, causing an avalanche of sharp and heavy boulders coming down from the mountains. The school got buried with the teacher and the students still inside. Tyler's hands were shaking as he came across faded photographs and names of people who had lived and died in the tragedy. A chill ran down his spine as he realized that the students from the photographs looked exactly like the ones in the classroom. This room was a remnant of that dark past, a space where the spirits of those long gone were trapped, repeating their final moments endlessly. Desperate to escape, Tyler bolted from the room. He raced down the hall, his heart pounding. Finally, he burst into what he hoped was the main lobby, only to find it deserted and cold. The clock on the wall showing the time of the earthquake ticked louder and louder until it became deafening. Then suddenly, the front door of the school burst open as swarms of students entered the main hall. They all walked past Tyler, standing in the middle of the hall, sweating heavily, unaware of the dark secrets of Raven Creek High, that are waiting to unfold.